and in today's video we're doing a career reading. This is awesome because it's fantastic to check in with yourself and say, how am I doing, or what could I know? Because sometimes you want to know about promotions or possibilities where you can make some extra money, or what is in the way that's preventing you from experiencing this. Or sometimes we even get into the nitty-gritty in case maybe you're having some friction with like a boss or a coworker, or something could happen that sort of distracts you and we're looking to avoid it, change it. That's the beautiful thing about tarot. Even if it does go in a negative direction, we're looking for that so we can use it in our favor and change sort of the course of fate. In addition to that, I just wanted to let you guys know, if you want to support me, I have a Patreon where I post exclusive content over there very often. And I just posted 2 new videos. And one of those videos is a really cool meditation using tarot cards. It's not only a great way of knowing all the multiple ways you can use tarot cards, but if you're interested in going deeper in a subject you might not have thought of exploring before, and you just want to practice feeling introspective, relaxed, exploring a part of your mind you haven't explored before, definitely check that out. And the other video I also posted over there is actually, I'm thinking of doing a series. I'm going to try it out and see what everyone thinks, but essentially I'm going to go into intense detail about starting with the Major Arcana, the Magician card, and after I go over all the different meanings and things and perspectives and subtext and so on and so forth, talking about it, I am going to channel the Magician, because if you did not know, when it comes to the spirit realm, you can actually visit the different archetypes of the cards. They exist. So I'm going to channel the Magician from the spirit realm. In addition to that, I'm happy to say I have updated both my intuition training course and my tarot training course. So not only are both of those resources available and you can see them over on my website, but it takes the already very extensive knowledge I have included in the video portions and extends it in writable and fillable exercises and checklists to take that knowledge even more in depth, break it down even more, and it just looks very fun and gorgeous, and I'm just very proud of it. But other than that, let's go back to our career reading. As you can see, before I go to the career reading, really quickly, I thought you guys would like this little bit of interesting know-how. Fun fact, so when you are, living life, practicing your intuition, potentially communicating with your spirit guides, all that good jazz, you can receive physical proof. And I very often receive coins specifically from my spirit guides. And I know they're from my spirit guides because I ask, that's how I can get more specific. It's always good to ask and find out and not assume. And it's just a really cute way that they show me that they love me and they support me. So it's very common for me to vacuum an entire area and then see 3 coins in the ground, literally in the middle of the room, and that not being there. Or me moving a coffee cup, again, nothing there being there, turn back around, and the space where it was empty, there's just a random quarter. So it's very cute and fun, and I love it. So this is sort of, I'm trying to put those good vibes your way by surrounding the cards with them. Anyway, so let's get into it. We have that you want to have your career in mind. Whatever's the most important is going to come to the surface in this reading. We've got group number 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to give you a moment to pick the group that you resonate with most. Now that you have, you can go down to the description for your designated group with its marked timestamp, and let's get started with group number 1. Group number 1, let's find out your career reading by looking at the cards. We have the Emperor in reverse, the Hangman upright, 7 of Cups upright, and another Emperor. Okay, so This is something you'll hear me talk about time and time again because I just find it such a common pattern. But there's tons of patterns within tarot, and you'll find out that in my tarot training course. But this is what I call mirroring patterns. It means that there is either the same card. So we got two emperors. This is, again, another beautiful reason why working with multiple decks is so helpful. But also that, and this would be considered a repeating card situation, which shows the emphasis of its importance. But mirroring cards can be like similar sort of expressions or similar meanings of cards, that type of thing, that are on the end or maybe surrounding one card in the middle, and they're showing their importance. They have a lot of meanings behind it, but we're going to find out that greater meaning as I look at the details of the cards. But it's also important to look at that we have the Emperor in reverse and the Emperor upright. Again, this can mean a multitude of things. It can mean where one concept, how it starts and where it will go, and that it's important to talk about that, so their cards are repeating to emphasize that idea. But that's just one possibility. So give me one moment to consult my spirit guides as well as to look at the details myself. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'm so happy we're talking about this because it's a little, maybe just a slightly uncomfortable situation, slightly negative, you know what I'm saying. But it has a lot of positive end results and actually solutions of where to go. So that's why we talk about these things. It's great to talk about things that maybe aren't always 100% what you want them to be, so you know where to go. So the main thing is we want to talk to the Emperor. This is a strong motif of the spread, especially we're going to talk about why it's surrounding the cards and the meanings and relationship to the upright and reverse. So when you're reading the cards for yourself, you can see all the possible ways you can read them. So in the Emperor in reverse, this is representing what my spirit guide said is a business partner. Now, business partner doesn't necessarily mean they are literally your business partner, because you might not own your own business. But this is somebody who has an equal amount of responsibility that they do. So they could potentially be your boss or a little bit higher up than you, like a shift manager type of situation, but you're pretty much both doing the same thing. This also can include coworkers, but whatever it is, you're sharing a very similar job situation, job responsibilities and tasks and stuff like that. Now, in the Emperor in reverse, this is them definitely wanting to be the person who has authority, who has control. The Emperor in reverse is usually a pretty negative card, and it is being used negatively in this sense. It doesn't feel like the most extreme case. Let me just double check with my spirit guide. No, it's not the most extreme case. That's what I thought. Because some people have like nightmare bosses. But this is more, you can feel like they're forcing you to be in a position to answer to them. That's definitely the main theme I want to focus on here. They're like, you come to me, you tell me what we're going to do for a plan, and you're like, whoa, teamwork, friend. Especially, even if they are your higher up, you're pretty much doing the same things, and they're definitely taking that position a little bit on a power trip, so to speak. You know what I mean? Now, it's important to look at the Emperor over here too, because in some circumstances, we could read this card as saying that they'll eventually chill out. But here's the thing. This is sort of a, how do I say this? A possibility of a route to go in. Like, what would happen if things did get smoothed over and, you buttered them up and said some nice things and you were like, hey, let's call a truce, whatever. Now, what's really fantastic in tarot is sometimes you'll get potential timelines that will show up, or in this particular case, possibilities. And this is fantastic because it's really answering the question as a whole to say, you can't make excuses anymore. Here's another possibility of how it could go. See how you're not going to love it either way. So in this particular case, this is a version of them that's very calm and relaxed and a lot easier to work with. But here's the thing also. They are much better emperor than they were previously. They are more willing to hear what their advisors and their council have to say. But here's the thing. They're still putting you in the category of the council or the advisor. They're still, even in their calmest, most relaxing state, think of themselves as the leader and the person who needs to make the final decision and expect you to answer to them. Again, it's still that vibration, that idea. And it's also important to note that this potentially is popping up for you because you're being shown to yourself, you're attracting this to you because you're saying to yourself, you know what, I don't want to be in a position where either people treat me this way, I want a more relaxed, even environment with my coworkers, or maybe you're interested in starting your own business, or you want to, this is the motivation you need to go find a higher up position where you can create the environment that you want. You don't want to be in a position of answering to other people. And potentially, if you were more of a leader or a boss in your circumstances, you wouldn't treat other people this way. You would come to them with helping and advice. And even though you were the one to make certain decisions or get a pay raise, you wouldn't see yourself in the emperor type fashion. But in addition here, this is also somebody wearing a mask. You know, even in their calmest of states, they still really have such a quick potential to sort of, I don't want to say like lose their temper, but we'll just say go into a state of feeling they need to control, getting a little bit too panicking up in your space of being like, well, why didn't this? Why didn't that? And the energy just rising kind of thing. Not the best vibes. So again, this is showing you that there isn't really any way to solve or make it better by just purely working with them. But I also want you to hold on to that idea because it's very important with where we're going over here and again how the cards were relating to each other. So over here we have a solution, and this is in the Seven of Cups. And I want you to read this card with me because it's important to the meaning and it adds the additional value to the cards themselves. The Seven of Palatiri shows many things, but not all true visions. And that's what my spirit guide was extending upon. They said that there are a lot of options and ideas around you currently right now, right? I'm just going to ask if they need to come your way. They're coming your way. Okay, good. I'm glad I asked. So they're going to be coming your way. Now, these options, though, and these possibilities, and this comes in the form of like information. This comes in the form of like, hey, did you hear an opening came up? Hey, did you hear this was a way of making this way of processing your job a lot easier? That type of thing. Are there job openings too? Okay, there are job openings as well. Good. So there's just a lot of options basically becoming your way in these different forms. But here's the important thing. They only are a bit of the information. They're only a little bit of what you need, a piece of the puzzle, if you will. And my spirit guide was suggesting that you take whatever it is that's coming in the form of an opportunity. Remember, an opportunity can be information that talks about an opportunity for a new job. It could be information making your job easier, or like an idea and inspiration to add to the creativity of your job or the way that you look at things. I mean, it could be anything. Remember that. So you can keep your eyes and ears open for that. But it is only a little bit. And my spirit guide said that you should extend that idea as far as possible so you can actually get the full utilization of the idea. So an example would be, even if you hear there's a new job opportunity, don't just be like, okay, I'm going to go apply for the job, blah, blah, blah. Look into that more. What does that job entail? What are some of the ways that you're going to experience it, the hours, the work environment? You might end up not choosing that exact job, but it inspires you to know what you do want. And from trying out that job, you see, you meet someone else and they tell you about another job they applied for, and then that's the job you really want to go for. That would be a good idea of extending the concept as far as possible and then seeing where it takes you, whether that be within the position itself or finding and taking you to the position you want to be. You see what I mean here? So remember, when you feel those little options and ideas, don't just purely get excited and be like, ooh, I like that. Seek them and then take them to the next level to benefit from them. Because I did ask about, this can involve like promotional stuff, this can involve making the situation better, but I do want you to focus on that idea when it comes to the situation when we have the hangman over here. So this says, Faramir is lowered onto the pyre. A man's life hangs in the balance. And the thing here is that's very much what's going on in the position this individual, the business partner, is putting you in. So we have somebody who's surrounding you on all sides. And in this position, if this is you and this is them, they're making you feel like they're the only option. If you don't listen to them, it can only go this one way. They're creating only one route, one perspective, due to their domineering energy. Again, we talked about what mirroring patterns mean. In this particular position, it is sort of holding around the cards, it's suffocating the cards, it's creating this idea that it's the dominating foundation of the cards, which is really interesting too, because the Emperor card does talk about the idea of a foundation. But the thing is, they aren't the foundation. The two of you are like interlocking woven lace in a blanket. They're not the blanket, they're not the knitter or the weaver. You know what I mean? So this is sort of an illusion they're creating for you. And the more you feed it, well, I don't want to say, let me rephrase that. You don't want to feed it. You want to pull yourself out of that perspective and stop being drawn into, and that's what they're doing. They're putting you in a position to feel like you have to react, cater to them, think about, if I don't do this, then they'll do this. If I don't do this, they'll emotionally react this way, so on and so forth, or they'll make my job more annoying, and I just want to get the job done by the end of the day. This is something to think about when it comes to the options, because you might be in a position, again, we talked about, being led to go to a new place, or maybe you are being drawn to have a different leadership position, or you want to move somewhere else within the vicinity. Maybe you want to change shifts and you want to work with other people. Whatever it is, it's not that you have to do that, but it is a good idea to use these options and put out the intention that you want to be away from this person, because this person is only going to create an environment where you're going to react to them, which then by default is feeding them. And by feeding them, it creates this mentality where you're really just kind of managing their expectations, reactions, ideas, everything. They're never going to, no matter the circumstance, whether they're calmer or angrier, going to be in a position where you truly are just simply working at peers. I mean, oh my goodness, I can totally understand this perspective where you're like, can I just want to work and hang out and do this job and go home, and you're making it this weird thing where I have to answer to you. I don't have to answer to you. Why are you making me be in a position where I have to say this? That's very much the vibe I'm picking up. So anyways, awesome, easy solution. Definitely keep your eyes open for those opportunities as they're coming to you. Extend them as much as possible. Do a lot of research. Look where it goes. Have patience. It's going to pull you out of this position in a better position. And everything happens for a beautiful reason. And this is your motivation, your kick to find what you really want and go from just basic, living life to living your dream. So I love this for you, dream liver. Anyways, if you enjoyed this reading, please give it a like, comment, subscribe. I'm wishing you the best. I'm wishing you all the magical coins and money. I'll see you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 2. Group number 2. Let's look at your career reading by looking at the cards. We've got the Sun card in reverse, the Hierophant upright, the Three of Pentacles upright, and the Tower card in reverse. Okay, give me one moment to consult my spirit guides and look at the details for myself. Oh, okay. Okay, let's get into this. So, in the Tower card, this is the representation of many people working on a project. And a lot of individuals are involved. Well, maybe a lot's a bit of a relative term. It could be one other person, it could be two other people. You get what I'm saying. Many hands in the, what's the phrase? Many hands in the fire? Too many hands in the fire? Something like that. Now, the unfortunate circumstance is that this is not a good idea. Let's look at the imagery upwards so it makes a lot more sense. So see how all of these hands are getting involved, and because they're giant hands, they are unfortunately messing with the fragility of the tower. They're making it break and bend over and crack and all that type of stuff, just because they keep pushing it and someone goes, I want it over here. No, it's imbalanced. Push it over here. Oh, what about this person over there? And this is when it's falling apart. Now, my spirit guide said that if card was upright, this would represent the idea that this was intentional and everyone's messing with it on purpose. But in this particular case, no one's meaning to, including you. But the thing is, this is sort of an inevitable thing that's going to happen. And I did ask because the Tower card is often a very serious card, but here's the beautiful thing. The cards don't always mean what they traditionally mean, especially when it comes to negative cards. Before you jump to conclusions, before you think the worst case scenario, make sure you check all the other possibilities. Maybe pull another card to confirm that. In this particular case, I'm lucky enough to work with my spirit guides directly, so I'm just talking to them to get that information. And I said, is it really serious? Because usually the Tower card can reference something really serious. And they said, it's not life-alteringly serious. It's like not that terrible, but like it would be inconvenient and you wouldn't really love it. It would kind of like bum you out, and you wouldn't be pumped about that. Now, the beautiful thing is there is a solution. Basically, you're going to step away from this project. You're going to leave it alone. You're going to pull away from working with this person. You're going to pull away from the group. So let's say an example is, again, I want to just give all the possible routes. Maybe you have the type of job where you're a barista, my favorite analogy, and just everyone's obsessively cleaning this one area of where the espresso machine is. And everyone's, organizing and doing their part. Maybe this is a time to pull away and let them obsess about it, these two other individuals who are working on it, and go do something else. Work on the cash register, work over by the pastry section, do anything else, clean something else. You're going to want to pull away because this is inevitable, this is going to happen, and it would be just best if you're not involved with it. That's the best main thing. Now, that idea of pulling away and doing your own thing actually continues over here. So over here in the Three of Pentacles, which is really interesting, again, when we talk about cards not meaning always what they traditionally mean. Normally the Three of Pentacles actually talks about working with other people, but in this particular case, the multiple people can be replaced with the idea of like multiple factors that add to the aid of you learning stuff. So in this particular case, this is representing you going off on your own and educating yourself, or putting yourself in an environment. Like, it's less about educating yourself. Well, it is. It's like the way my spirit guide put it is they said, you're going to find an environment where you can easily work with multiple resources. You can kind of bounce around with what's convenient for you. A good example is, let's say you're an artist. Maybe you traditionally work in this place where you can only work on a computer. You're going to pull away so you can work with gouache and oil paint and magazines for collaging. And you're going to go somewhere else where you have multiple resources. Maybe in this area, you have access to certain inspirational magazines or artist books with tips and tricks or things like that. So the point is, you're going to pull away, you're going to have this environment where you're going to be able to think more. And remember, you can always get creative here. So again, we go back to the barista mentality. You can, at the cash register, start to develop the ability to multitask and think about things that would take you in a direction you would like to go, certain resources and ways that you can educate yourself in different ways. You see what I'm saying here? It doesn't have to, if you're not in a position to like go off in like a little office off to your own, that's a perfect example. Or let me just double check with my spirit guide real quickly if this also can involve like going home and doing your own thing. My spirit guide said, absolutely, it can involve that. So that's like another example of separating yourself from being involved this way, but then when you go home from the barista job, working on this multi-resourced educational sort of factor of comparing things and trying out different stuff factor. Now, this is really going to benefit you both now, but in the long run. My spirit guide said this is sort of the beginning of you being pulled in the path of success, and you're going to be really happy with where it goes, but it takes you to the Hierophant. Now, technically, this is Saruman. Isn't the nicest, but we're going to ignore that. We're just going to view him as like an old wizard here. So in this particular case, this is representing the idea of how educated you are, that you are so well versed in what you've learned and what you've trialed and errored and what you've compared amongst the different resources in this sort of environment that you've put yourself in. Again, all of it really reachable within your space. And you're able to really utilize any of what you've learned at the drop of a hat. But this also then leads you in a beautiful direction of being able to use that education in a financially resourceful or successful way. So a good example is, again, we'll just use the artist mentality over here. So this is you working on a project, you're working with multiple people, it doesn't work out, turns out it falls through, and you're really disappointed you put all that time and energy in the canvas, and really you should have been putting it somewhere else. It was a group show, it didn't work out. You pull away from it though, you don't get sucked into the downfall of that, and you end up really trying out different techniques, seeing what you're into, that kind of thing. You get the gist. And then going here with the Hierophant, this is you over time. It doesn't have to be a long time. Let me just double check if it's a long time. No, it doesn't have to be a long time at all. But keep in mind, when you are the Hierophant, you can always get more and more educated. You can always keep growing. And this is you going from just solely looking at selling your individual artworks to then you start to teach other people how to work with a particular style. Or maybe you start to give creative lectures that helps people understand all this way that you discovered this trial and erroring, and people really enjoy that. That kind of concept and idea. Or because you're so well versed, it enables you to work on tons of other future group projects because you are able to work with pen and ink, you're able to work with collage, you can do screen printing, and people really enjoy your art style. And because you're so flexible with what you can do resource-wise, people are down to learn from you. And you might even take said techniques from, again, ink drawing is so different from screen printing. You might be in a position where someone sees that and then wants to you take that technique and bring that concept into screen printing and vice versa, and you educate others around you from this, and that then causes inspiration and your work to have even more value and more of a uniqueness. Do you see what I'm saying here? See the versatility of how you can pull that out of a drop of a hat. So I love that. Now this then leads to the Sun card. That's really interesting because there's sort of a similar sort of vibe going on in the two when it comes to the idea of freedom, but it's really interesting how we can view that idea in multiple different ways and how it can benefit us. And sometimes, I don't want to say hinder us, but maybe we get over cluttered, I guess is the word. So over here in the Sun card, this is representing the idea that you should follow what makes you happy, inner happiness, when it comes to both coworkers, but also I then asked, what about clients? Now this is you looking inwards and saying, what gets you excited? And not solely doing what your coworkers want you to do and worrying about, because often there can be a clique mentality at work, so it's not always about a professional environment and being asked to do X, Y, and Z. Sometimes that sort of professional environment more comes from what was I going to say? I'm so sorry. I'm distracted. I'm seeing something near me keep moving. Anyways, going back to what we were talking about. It's probably just my spirit guides trying to get my attention. Yeah, they're saying it is. Okay, cool. But anyways, what we were talking about, what was I saying? I'm so sorry. Oh, when you're saying inner happiness, this is you essentially saying to your peers of being like, hey, I see everyone's making it uncool to do this other thing. Okay, I don't really care. I'm going to go do this. Or maybe you're concerned not to try new things because you're afraid your clientele only once said one thing from you. And you saying, you know what, but this makes me happy. And then exploring that. Now, with that inner happiness, and that becomes freedom. Now, traditionally, when the Sun card is upright, in the way it would look in the Rider-Waite deck, is it's a happy environment with a wall. So it's this idea of like you found your little space to feel safe and relax. It's your own personal little like garden and space and property. You get what I'm saying? But in this particular case, this is your property environment no longer limiting you in that one space and you being able to have the freedom to explore anywhere. As you dive deeper into your inner happiness, you are also simultaneously creating a bigger environment for yourself from following that instead of being limited by, again, the coworkers or the clients and that type of thing. And again, this talks about this idea of freedom and sort of this is where you're always naturally vibing with. Over here, this is not I know you're working with other people, but there's a still sense of individual freedom of working with these other people. No one's sort of trying to control the other. Everyone's working together. You're making this active choice on your own. But we can see how it doesn't have a direction and it's not going to take you in the direction when you go. So we see that sort of output. Then there's this freedom over here of being able to create your own space, choose and work with any sort of resource or way to educate yourself any way possible. Again, freedom there. Then we have freedom over here, you being able to do and work and have all these more job opportunities based on all of this skills and knowledge you know in the long run, both not very long from now, but also in the long run in general, and being able to work with that and have that as a resource within itself. And then we get the freedom of looking inside, figuring out what you want, following that path, and then by doing that, creating in the universe a wider path in itself for you to work in, possibilities, different ways, different things you want to create, so on and so forth. So I love that for you. Lots of freedom, lots of happiness, lots of self-discovery, and avoiding something you really don't need to experience. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this reading and it gets you excited about what you're about to dive into and the future and all the things you're going to learn and share. And I just hope you're so pumped. Please give this video a like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It helps out like you would not believe. And also, I am wishing you the best. I'm wishing you all the magical coins and lots of money and promotions and all that good jazz. I will see you in the next one, and let's get ready for group number 3. Group number 3, let's look at your career reading by looking at the cards. We have the 4 of Wands upright, the 9 of Swords in reverse, the Justice card upright, and the Devil card in reverse. Okay, give me one moment to consult my spirit guides and to look at the details of the cards. Okay. Okay, let's get into this. So this is fantastic. This has a lot of specific direction and compliments and talking about, I'll say like, you have a certain sense, like you're able to sense certain things, being able to point that out and talk about how to utilize that. Because fun fact, the more we're aware of these things, the more we can use them to our benefit, which is why I absolutely love developing my own psychic abilities. It helps being able to identify things in yourself or your environment or whatever and make it a million times easier to be like, oh, that's why, so I'll go here, that type of concept. But anyways, going forward with that though, we're also going to be simultaneously talking about other things that you might be sensing that might not be great. and talking about how to work with that. So first, let's start with the Four of Wands. I love how my spirit guide was breaking this down. So you see how there is like a globe, if you will, a snow globe or ball around in the environment of these rays and sun. So they said it is an environment it's an ecosystem. That's what they said. They said it's an ecosystem of happiness within an environment of happiness. So this is the representation of you creating this and going out of your way to constantly within the bliss of what you're experiencing and take it even further, to go even further no matter where you're at now, and not settling and making it even better every second you get. And this is going to be something that leads you to, and I love this, my spirit guide said, divine happiness and success. So I love that. Now let's talk about how this is something that's sort of like a version of breadcrumbs that you're going to follow. So a good example is maybe it starts out with being like, maybe you need to work on stuff outside of work, gather notes, whatever. How about instead of doing it alone, do you have any coworkers you like that you could go to a fun coffee place and do this? Or maybe you have some friends who have their own work they want to do and you work together. So now that's a more fun environment. Maybe you go out of your way to get shows you really wanted to watch or audiobooks and you enjoy them on your commute, whether this be on a train or a bus, or you can listen to audiobooks while you're driving, that type of thing. Then maybe you really go out of your way to say, whenever I'm on my lunch break, I get my favorite treat. And you really go out of your way to get like a really special, yummy coffee or snack, but you make it fun. Like you go out of your way to say like, I'm going to try each type of snack at this one place, or maybe around the surrounding businesses or buildings, whatever, you're going to go check them out. And you're just going to constantly take it to the next level. Oh, I'm going to work on this paper. You know what? I'm going to have fun and I'm going to format it in a really cute font that I'm personally vibing. And then you can just change it back when you need to send it in and send it with your typical Times New Roman, whatever you need to do for the actual position or job. But you're constantly saying, how can I take this to the next level? How can I make it an even happier situation? And I'll tell you this right now, whatever we're doing, we're reflecting back to the universe, and therefore it's getting reflected back to us, and it's this beautiful cycle. So what you're essentially saying to the universe is, I'm not going to settle. Give me the top of the line best circumstance. Maybe at first you're like, oh, I wish I had an extra $500. Why not ask for $5,000? Why not ask for $50,000? And that's what you're sort of saying to the universe. I'm happy. I want even more happiness. But you're creating a sense of possibility, openness. When we are in this, now keep in mind, I do want to be very clear. You can have a very successful life and be not in a good emotional state. There are tons of artists that were not feeling their best self or the happiest they could be because they were, struggling with something, and they were very successful. So I don't want you to think you have to be happy to be successful. Just want to be clear about that. But in this particular case, with that sense of happiness and openness, you're really bypassing any sort of fears, blockages, anything that you would have that could create anxiety, because you're just so excited by the next thing that's really pepping you up and getting you jazzed about what you're working or your just day-to-day life. But you're also saying to yourself that you can create anything. So when you are working, it goes from just creating a space where you feel your happiest and you're in that position to, okay, I'm making more money. How can I make more? How can I tailor it even more? And being able to identify that and work with it and use it. And I love that for you. I'm very excited about that with you. Also, it's just a very happy thing. Happy, success, freedom. But you're also, I will say this though, this is sort of your breadcrumb thing again, what we were talking about before, because how do I say this? It's like an inner compass thing. You're following what fits that feeling. So if you're always following what feels good and you're creating environments that make you even feel better, this is sort of your laying down a brick and saying, I'm heading in the right direction. And you're always heading towards that feeling. You're always creating that sensation. You don't have to depend on others for it purely. And this is you letting yourself know and checking in with yourself and being like, am I doing the right thing? Am I heading in the right direction? Yes, you are. Now, that idea is going to be important when we come back to that concept again, when we talk about the Nine of Swords, but let's go over here with the Devil card in reverse. Now, like I said, we talk about sensing things. You're going to sense when you feel good and head in that direction, and that's a great sign to let you know you're headed in the right direction. And remember, when I say direction, I'm referring to like it's leading you towards more opportunities, it's leading you towards promotion, it's leading you towards ideas that will make you more money. You get what I'm saying. But in the Devil card in reverse, this is representing somebody who is pretty jealous of you, and they send a lot of like mental negativity your way and tension because it's not personal, I'm told. They're just miserable, and you're like the happiest person in the room as you're building this environment, and that they're getting in their head and sort of like, I don't want to say blaming you because that's not the vibe I'm getting, pardon me. It's more like, oh, why can't I have what they have? Oh, it's so easy for them. Oh, of course they got this. That type of thing. Like they'd be saying it to anyone, and they're not really focused on you. You're just sort of the brightest light, so to speak, and so they're drawn to that. Now, keeping that in mind, it's in reverse to represent the idea that it's non-direct. So if it was upright, it would, again, I talk about this in my tarot training course, things being upright or reversed can take on many different meanings besides just even the traditional upright or reversed reaction. In this particular case, it's representing the idea if it's upward, it's direct, they would let you know, they would say things to you. But with it being in reverse, you're not going to, unless you're like, okay, I'm near this person, I'm sensing it, I'm feeling their negativity, and they're like, it's them. They're not going to come up to you, they're not going to say anything mean. You're just going to either feel it directly from them and you're going to be like, oh, it's them. Or if you don't know how to identify them because you're in sort of a room, if you will, this is something you're going to take as sort of a reverse inner compass, as you can understand. You're going to feel it. You're going to sense, ooh, something feels off or weird. Do not confuse this for your own sort of emotions or lack of belief in yourself in that kind of way. Learn to tell the difference from checking in with yourself, asking questions. You're also welcome to pull tarot cards or talk to your spirit guides directly in the spirit realm, that type of thing. These are all a bunch of solutions. But what you're going to do is say, oh, I don't feel great right now. Leave. Go to another room. Go to another place. Oh, I don't feel great here. I'm going to have my lunch somewhere else. And leaving that negativity is leading you not only towards a happier environment, but is also pulling you down closer to the path that you resonate more with. So maybe you weren't meant to be in the building at that point. And that negative energy you were feeling is sort of like a motivation to get you to the position where you run into someone that's really helpful and becomes a new client or becomes another opportunity for even a better job environment or something like that. You see what I'm saying? And you're guiding there and you're being basically told, hey, don't go over here. Like if we were to think of the road again metaphor, think of these as the spikes on the side of the road that's like, don't go off this path, this is the path, or else. And keep in mind it's not an or else situation, but just understand that. This is also a good way to, if you're not directly like able to leave this environment immediately, know you want to try to pull yourself out of this regular environment and type of stuff, because it's going to continue and you're meant to follow that path. You're going to find a better option somewhere else. Again, following this, being aware of what to avoid. Again, indirectly, a sensation you'll sense and feel and what you want to pull away from. Moving forward though, we have the Justice card. Now this is a bit of a distraction, I guess you could say. This is representing the idea, and this is how my spirit guide put it, ghosts of the past. No, I'm so sorry. Ghosts of the present. I said ghosts of the past. My spirit guide was like ghosts of the present. So in this card, this is representing these sort of phantom ideas. So that's all the possibilities of the things you could do. And you're like, oh, I chose this, but I could do this, but I could do this. And my spirit guide said that you can feel a sense of fear of missing out when sort of sensing all of these possibilities. Again, when we're using this term to describe them as sort of almost like a being, that's how it feels. It feels like it's in your space. It feels like it's trying to really call your attention. It feels like it's not quite there, but almost there kind of concept. And my spirit guide said you just want to do whatever you can to focus all of your attention towards. So like, let's say you've made a decision, right? And you're like, this is where I feel happiest. Remember, you're trying to find the happiest solution. So it makes sense that you'd be like, oh, did I make the right did I make the right choice? Oh, well, look how great that could be. Oh, but what about that? Am I following my true happiness and bliss? Don't make it more complicated than it is. Remember, you could start something and then 5 minutes into it be like, I'm not into this anymore, and change your mind. You can do that. But this is you going, okay, so again, we're just using the analogy of like you're going out to a specific place at lunch and you start to think and hear about all these other places you could have gone. You're going to stick to the thing you chose. You're going to stick to it. And you're going to follow it, and you're going to do the best you can to not feed this other attention and idea somewhere else. So you're not going to check your Instagram. You're not going to keep repeating it as a mantra in your head. You're going to do whatever you can. And eventually these sort of possibilities that are coming in your space mentally, you're going to just not notice them as much, and you're going to feel more direct and decisive with whatever choices you make when it comes to that following your bliss statement. And again, there's nothing wrong with like being like, you know what, I'm choosing this, I'm going to stick to this, and then 10 minutes into it you're like, I'm kind of bored, I'm not into this anymore. Changing your mind and walking somewhere else. You can do that. Option is always available. In fact, it's one of my favorite things I have personally developed in the last year. I love it. I'll start a TV show, and if I'm not into it within like 10 minutes, I'll be like, okay, it's not for me, and then I'll just turn it off and move on. And I cannot tell you the amount of hours it has saved me, just being able to only tailor my entertainment in that kind of way. So anyways, so you get what I'm saying. Anyways, moving on, we have the 9 of Swords in reverse. Now, here's the thing that's really interesting about it. Again, the 9 of Swords has its traditional meanings, but we're actually going to focus on the numerology of this, because remember, there are tons of ways you can read the cards. So we're focusing on the idea of the 9. Now, 9, again, in my tarot training course, I go into numerology in quite a lot of depth, and I went to the Akashic Records to get this information. So 9 is actually a very how do I say this? It's a very lucky number, but it's like a very self-aware lucky number. So one of the things about 9 is the circle represents this idea of infinity, because fun fact, the infinity symbol actually does not mean the infinity symbol in the Akashic Records. The circle does. So the circle represents the infinity symbol, but the line next to the number 9 represents like a person sort of holding it up. So they're in charge and fully aware of their infinite potential, this continuous stream of income, however you want to view that form of like, I'm holding this up and I'm doing great and I'm really aware that I'm doing it. I would definitely say this is very the magician vibes, to be honest with you, but we're focusing back on the number 9. So with the number 9, or the 9 of Swords, so to speak, this is the idea of being aware of what is working and what isn't working, and following those concepts, and knowing that you're going to really be able to sense and identify, like we talked about, what makes you happy with what doesn't work. So if you're ever like, well, okay, I understand the simplicity of following what makes me happy, but how do I know this is still the ultimate thing that makes me happy? Or what if I think I'm happy, but it's actually the wrong decision? You are going to have no problem in the least being in control of sensing what works. The number 9 is this feeling of someone being like, oh, I know this is a great idea. Like, I know it. I know it's going to be successful. I'm aware of it. I'm very aware, and I'm using it to my benefit. This is you being aware and being like, whoa, I know this is not a good idea. I'm not going to do this. I can feel it. I can sense it. No, I'm not following that idea. So you'll really be able to notice when it's a no. But you'll also be able to really know when you're moving. Right? Let me just double check that. Yes, I'm told yes. When you practice this more, you'll get that sense of the 9 in an upright position, which means you're really aware when you're making really good decisions. Now, if you don't feel that sensation yet, this is going to develop in time from practicing the following bliss method we were talking about, and really curbing your environment and your actions and your interactions to be the happiest possible. And that's going to over time develop. But if I was told by my spirit guide that if you don't right away feel this concept of being like, okay, I'm not real, it doesn't feel wrong, but I don't know if I feel it being right. Should I feel it absolutely being right? Don't worry about that. Don't stress about it. Don't think about it too deeply. Just keep following that happiness. Know that if you don't absolutely feel that this is totally right decision, that's okay. That ability will develop in time. Don't get in your head about it and then create sort of like a false perspective about it, you can say. Remember, you will know when you're like, oh, this is a no. And in time, you will deeply know when it's a for sure yes. And in between, when you haven't felt the for sure yes, you'll be very happy, and you will by default be moving in the direction that will lead you to more success, more options, more bliss, and in the present time will be quite blissful. So I love this. This is very like quality of life. And something I like in particular with this card is sometimes people confuse like a feeling around them for, it's like they'll confuse it with their own emotions, or they'll confuse it with like being like, man, this environment feels really negative. And it's just one person and they're just sensing their energy. Or they'll take it really personally and focus intensely on being like, oh, this person is so mean to me, or I can feel their negative vibes. Guess what? It is not about them being negative to you. It is a sign of where you want to avoid them and where you want to go. It's sort of like a weird blessing in disguise, a weird outer compass of where to avoid. So love that. Again, if you enjoy this reading, please leave it a like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. I'm wishing you the best. I'm wishing you all the lucky coins, all the success, all the promotions, and I will see you in the next one. And let's get ready for our final group. Group number 4. Group number 4. Let's look at your career reading by looking at the cards. We've got, I love this. 4 of Pentacles in reverse, the Emperor upright, the 10 of Swords in reverse, and the 7 of Wands in reverse. Okay, give me just one moment to look at the details of the cards and consult my spirit guides. Okay, let's get into this. Okay, fantastic. So first, let's start with the 4 of Pentacles in reverse. This is actually pretty simple. I was told very, 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 very soon you are going to be in a better position to not have such a lacking mindset. Now, the 4 of Pentacles traditionally represents somebody who feels, due to their resources, they are limited. And so they're really avoiding spending money. They're really aware of when they need to spend it, because they're like, oh, not a lot is coming in. This is what I'm working with. So I got to do what I got to do. But often, interestingly enough, with the 4 of Pentacles, it doesn't guarantee people are actually in that position. They're just viewing it that way. It feels like that when everything's okay. And I'm really happy to say you are being represented by the reversed option, which shows you to be like, you know what? No, things are constantly coming my way. Why would I be less in a position to have good luck come my way or opportunities than the day before, or a year prior, or whenever, or a year in the future? Every moment is a moment for me to thrive, and I'm ready to manifest and receive, and I'm ready. Let's go. Let's do it. I will say this. Let me just double check one thing. Oh, never mind. Okay. There's a certain sort of funny mindset that comes with Four of Pentacles in reverse, but this is not you. So just the main thing is it's letting us know where you were coming from, where you were at, where you were focused on, understandable. And this is you sort of being like, you know what? I'm ready. I'm done. Let's go. I would say there's still like Four of Pentacles in reverse. People tend to be very sarcastic with their openness, but this is not the vibe I'm also picking up either. So I'm glad I double checked my spirit guide. This is more of you being like, you know what? I just had a breakthrough. Let's do it. Screw it. Let's go. You know what I mean? It's that type of mentality, and it's very joyful and excited. And you finally are able to realize what you're open to receiving. And keep in mind, my spirit guide did say that this puts you in a larger position of receiving to be able to allow money to come your way, promotions, whatever, all that good jazz and success. So love that for you. Also, it feels great to not feel constantly concerned or without. Love that for you as well. Now here, interestingly enough, we have the Emperor card upright, and I wanted you to read this reading with me. Elrond refuses to touch the ring and thus retains his independence. My spirit guide said that you're going to want to avoid getting sucked into the temptations of like corporations and stuff like that. Now, it doesn't mean you can't still work for one, because many people work within sort of a larger business environment. That's totally normal and okay. It's more that you don't want to make choices solely focused on things like, oh, this place has better benefits, that has that. That's the sort of temptation going on. You're going to have more success in the long run, my spirit guide says, if you're more focused on what's working for you. So again, you're making choices on your personal happiness, what vibes for you in the working environment or schedule. This also includes, can this include just independently business? Independently business. That's so funny. Hold on one second. Let me just ask my spirit guide. Yes. So if you're an independent business, you're not going to really go that way. Again, it's not against working with these corporations or working for them. It's the idea of making choices based on what you feel is best for the product, for the idea. You see what I'm saying, and resisting that. And in the long run, so example, if he had given into the temptation, he thinks he's going to be all powerful, but in reality, the ring has the control and power. But by refusing to work that way, see it that way, be tempted in that way, he actually gets to end up running his whole entire kingdom himself and has a lot of happiness and success and wealth and power in the way that he would find it, and happiness rather than the way it was being given to him in a way like he wouldn't want power in that way. Do you see what I'm saying? So keep that in mind as you're making decisions, and pull yourself away whenever you're finding yourself in the lingo of being like, yeah, and then I have these benefits and I have that. Get out of that headspace. What do you like about it? What's your daily life? What's your lunch schedule? Do you like your coworkers? Is it a place you feel like you can really do what you want to do? You see what I'm saying? Now, moving on, we have the Seven of Wands in reverse, and I'm happy to say the confirmation card of the Ten of Swords in reverse. They're basically paired. So I was told there's actually quite a lot of, how did my spirit guide put it? Like smoky sort of situations, as in like they could become, a circumstance of fire. You know what I mean? They can become serious. Something that like looks good and then ends up turning out to not be good. And not as in like, oh man, that didn't work. Like my spirit guide said, it wouldn't be the most serious thing that happened, but there are a lot of situations where you could take this situation or opportunity and you're like, oh my gosh, this ended up backfiring. This didn't work out. I wish I regretted putting my money here or doing this thing. And they're kind of around you. Currently and going to be. Okay, my spirit guide said that. So here's the great thing. My spirit guide said the way you're going to identify them, and you are, and I'm happy to say, when it's in reverse, it's implying you're going to be okay. You're not going to take these things. But the way you're going to continue down that path of not walking into these circumstances that will pull you down a route you're not going to be happy with is you're going to, anytime you're feeling a sensation where you're like, I don't 100% know if this is the best choice. You don't have to be very suspicious. You're just like, but can you explain X, Y, and Z of why you're a good partner, or X, Y, and Z why we should work with that product? And if you feel like you feel the tiniest inkling, don't do it. Don't do it. There's other opportunities. And remember, there's a lot of these little situations around you that you're basically going to identify and then avoid. And as an extra sort of relaxation and confirmation, and I just want to point this out, the Seven of Wands is in reverse. This is already a heavy card, already saying you're good to go. And my spirit guide said, you're good to go. You're going to be able to see these things, identify them. We're just trying to point them out so you give them more weight to avoid them, because it's not simply being like, oh, shucks, I made the wrong choice. You're not going to be pumped about the choice. Don't choose it. But we have the Ten of Swords as another affirmation, which is, let me just double check one thing with my spirit guide. Yes, and most of the time. Good. Okay, so Ten of Swords in reverse is this idea of like dodging a bullet. So it's like you chose not to go with something or end something, as we talked about over here, and then you later finding out, wow, I'm glad that didn't end up working out. We really made the best choice possible. Ten of Swords is actually often very positive in a relationship spread for a variety of reasons, but one of the reasons can be like finding out like, oh, that would have not been a happy circumstance to be in. I'm really glad me and them are no longer together. I'm really glad that didn't end up working out. That kind of concept. In this particular case, I'm happy to say my spirit guide said that most of the time, you're going to feel that little inkling. We're going to give it more importance and go, hey, I'm feeling something's a little off. I'm not going to agree to this, or I'm not going to go into this. Then you dodge it. And most of the given time, not all the time, but most of the time, you're going to end up finding out, ooh, that happened? Good thing I didn't choose that. This is also, I do want to point this out, everything happens for a reason. Sometimes when we're in a Four of Pentacles situation upright, we may have potentially gone through some things that make us distrusting of receiving. We feel that we've made some choices that have put us in the direction we're not happy in. So it creates a Four of Pentacles mentality. It creates us to be more closed up and feeling a sense of lacking, and this is all we've got to work with right now. I'm happy to say again the reverse, but we're also given opportunities from the universe and to say, well, can I change that? Can I change and learn trust with myself and my intuition and who I am? In this particular case, this screams to me that the universe is going, here's an opportunity to have these events unfold for you to, by trial and error, but in this particular case, I'm happy to say trial and success, of you being able to identify things and then show yourself, like, see how much not only success you would have, but lack of worry you need to have if you make the wrong choice, because you're not going to, you're going to be able to identify it and you can trust that you're making the right choice. So sometimes when you say, why is this happening? What's the importance? How else are you going to build this deep inner trust with yourself that in the long run, in your business success, whatever you're working, is going to really make you look back and be like, wow, I now feel like I'm constantly making the right choices. I feel like I'm constantly picking the best possible option that will give me the best amount of success and money and pull me out of circumstances that would be annoying or tedious or the other things we talked about over here. So I'm excited for you. It's a total 180 of a circumstance. So I love this for you. Lots of just trust building and happiness and openness to receiving and true inner power in the longevity that's going to grow based on these choices. How much of a beautiful opening is that creating? I think of someone who's leaving a not fun cave, like a dingy cave, and just stepping out into a meadow full of flowers, and it's only going to continue to get better and better from here. So I love that for you. Please, if you enjoyed this reading, give it a like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can see all of my videos. It helps out like you would not believe. I'm wishing you the best. I'm wishing you all the magical coins, all the money and promotions in the world. I will see you in the next one, and goodbye.